Tonight, we will look at last night's vice presidential debate and whether it's going to move the needle at all. Then, we take a look at Sunday's tilt, that pivotal presidential debate. And then our legal panel of attorneys joining us as we'll discuss the new bombshell allegations in the Bridgegate trial. Not only is Governor Christie facing new accusations, so possibly could the governor across the river, one Andrew Cuomo. Well, first the crash, now the lawsuits. Injured passengers on that New Jersey Transit train that crashed in Hoboken, well, they're lawyering up. They're ready to drop the gavel down on the railroad. Tonight we'll ask the panel if they have a case. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French. Thank you so much for joining us this Wednesday evening. It is now just 33 days until Election Day. And Hillary Clinton, she's opened up a 5-point lead nationally. That's according to the CNN poll of likely voters. She was down a couple points in that same poll before the prior debate. And she's also gaining in some pivotal swing states, leading Trump by 10 points in that new Pennsylvania poll and 5.5 points in North Carolina. Trump and Clinton, they will square off in their second debate this Sunday night at Washington University in St. Louis. And we'll, of course, be covering it live, including a pre- and post-debate analysis. But last night, it was all about their running mates when Mike Pence and Tim Kaine squared off in Virginia.
That is absolutely false, and you know
absolutely
that. And you know
true.
that, Governor.
It's absolutely true.
Because the FBI...
Elbows flying, insults at the ready, last night turned into a fiery battle. Hillary Clinton's running mate Tim Kaine becoming an attack dog, forcing Republican Mike Pence to defend Donald Trump.
On the economy, there's a fundamental choice for the American electorate. Do you want your hired president in Hillary Clinton, or do you want your fired president in Donald Trump?
Pence didn't take the bait, and unlike the criticism against his boss last week, Trump's number two remained poised and steady.
I'm happy to defend him. Most of what you said is completely false.
The pair clashing over Trump's taxes.
But he used the tax code just the way it's supposed to be used, and he did it brilliantly.
How do you know that? You haven't seen his tax
runway.
And immigration.
Senator, we have a deportation force. It's called Immigrations and Customs Enforcement.
Kaine also challenging Pence over what he claims to be Trump's laundry list of insults.
I can't imagine how Governor Pence can defend the insult-driven, selfish, me-first style of Donald Trump.
Pence ready with a response.
You and Hillary Clinton would know a lot about an insult-driven campaign. It really is remarkable.
As the two VP candidates sparred on stage over which campaign was more insulting, Donald Trump was active online, retweeting this about Kaine's looks. Kaine looks like an evil crook out of the Batman movies. The Clinton campaign quickly responding. Yes, Trump and Pence are running an insult-driven campaign. Donald's literally doing it right now. All right, let me bring my friend Andrew Whitman, our senior political correspondent, who was with me last night when we watched this. And while the table was somewhat divided, you thought that Pence had the better night. And it seems anecdotally, people kept count of things that I don't even register. It's funny, my kid said this to me. Oh, Pence kept interrupting. Then my answer was, why did you watch that for 90 minutes? But secondly, I guess it was right. There's that aspect of... how the person looks in the cutaway shot. If they interrupt the person in the 2 minutes that they have allotted for the answer, those little things actually go a long way.
There's a lot of different ways to critique or grade a debate, and I think Pence did better just focus on the specifics of what we saw over the 90 minutes. He appeared more calm and measured. He didn't interrupt as much. He rebutted Kaine as best as he could. Kaine was a lot more aggressive about it, maybe to the point of distraction, a la Donald Trump from the first debate with Hillary Clinton. But in terms of their ability...
But it wasn't as unhinged.
No, certainly not, just in terms of the number of interruptions. But in terms of helping their tickets, I thought that Kaine actually did the more effective job. Kaine kept his focus lasered on Donald Trump, and even though he was interrupting Mike Pence the whole time, was asking questions about Donald Trump and trying to throw shade on Trump, which helps the Clinton campaign overall. Yep. Pence was focused more, I thought, there were some areas where he broke from Donald Trump, particularly when it comes to Vladimir Putin and how he handled Russia. He took a much firmer tone with Russia than Donald Trump has ever done. So I think Pence probably did more for his own political aspirations and trying to establish his brand, but didn't quite go as far for Donald Trump as Tim Kaine did for Hillary Clinton.
A couple things, and whether or not they'll play into Sunday at all. We showed that in the clips where repeatedly Pence is like, shaking his head, saying, I can't believe you say these insulting things. Now, unless you lived under a rock, one would define what Donald Trump has done to first his Republican counterparts in the primary process and what he's done in the general as insulting basically every ethnic group here and candidate known to mankind. But Pence actually doubled and tripled down with it. Theirs, the Democrats, was the insulting campaign. Whether it was effective or not, I thought it was a bold move. But when Donald Trump sat and watched that debate last night, I'm putting you on the couch right now, but
in more ways than one.
Exactly. Do you think that he took away saying, hey, you know what, I don't have to take the bait for every question, and B, I can answer the question I want here and take the high road? Or do you think that he was jealous that people were praising his running mate and not him?
I think there's a certain sense that we've known for some time that Trump thinks that all press is good press, and his candidate came across as being somewhat measured and being electable. So I think he probably looks as though Mike Pence had a good night. I think he probably feels good about the night that Mike Pence had. I know there have been some grumbles that perhaps he didn't cover Trump's positions as well as Trump might have wanted him to. Can that translate to Donald Trump? I doubt it, but I don't know. Only because we've never seen it in the 35 years that Donald Trump has been a public figure that he's ever been able to hold himself in check when he's challenged. And Tim Kaine was trying to lay the same traps for Mike Pence last night that Hillary Clinton laid for Donald Trump. Pence, for the most part, avoided them. Trump has shown no history of being able to avoid them.
So there's two schools of thought about Sunday. One is that if you're Donald Trump, the bar is so low for expectations that as long as you don't insult beauty queens or whatever else, it'll be considered an improvement. The second school of thought is, and we were talking this before we came on, the poll showed that there's about a 5-point margin, and it seems, if you believe the polls, but there's enough sampling that Trump is clearly the underdog here, and he did himself no favors, momentum clearly in the other direction. He'll throw Molotov verbal cocktails on Sunday, going to the infidelities of Clinton and everything else, even alleging Hillary wasn't faithful to her husband. Which approach does he go? Because if you do go that far and it doesn't work, I don't think there's any coming back.
Well, first of all, he's going to have to do something because, as you said, the polls show that Hillary's got a bit of a lead. And last night, you can just throw it away.
But if he was just competent, Andrew, couldn't he close a couple points off of that?
He might be able to, but again, these VP debates mean nothing in the long run. They're basically the Sarah Palin test. Sarah Palin disqualified herself as a VP candidate in the 2008 debates, and that hurt John McCain. But other than that, these things have no shelf life whatsoever. So Trump will clearly be behind. The thing is, he could try to play it safe. He could be the prompter Trump that we've seen more than a couple of times. But if he does that, he runs the risk of not being the entertaining guy who's the center of all the attention and doesn't drive the conversation the way that Donald Trump is used to do it. So I don't think that's going to be a particularly likely option for him. And also, if he does that, he opens the door for Hillary to basically walk over him if he's just being cautious and ties one arm behind his back.
And remind everybody.
And I don't think his ego would allow for that.
And remind everybody of the format, because it's going to be different on Sunday.
This will be a town hall debate, which means the people in the audience ask questions, and ostensibly the candidates answer the questions of the audience while also talking to the people at home. So there's a risk here of Trump being his natural Trumpian self, which is if he's the same pompous Trump that he always is, he runs the risk of coming across as being insulting to the people in the audience who are asking the questions.
And it's okay to do that to a moderator, but you can't do that to Joe.
You can do that to Hillary, you can do that to Anderson Cooper, you can't do it to the person in the audience.
Apparently, just for a little bit of inside baseball, Martha Raddatz from ABC News, who everyone regards as one of the more foremost authorities on national security and foreign policy, and Anderson Cooper, who you all know from CNN, who's got his own bona fides. There's even going to be some egos on that thing as to who gets which kind of questions. That's at least ruminating right now. So for Trump to have not one but two hosts to parry with and different people in the audience giving something that is know exactly what he's getting in advance for a question, it should be an entertaining 90 minutes.
Look, the basic bar for Trump is he has to do better than he did in the first debate.
Which is hard not to.
It's hard not to because a lot of people think it was one of the worst performances in debates that you possibly can. But he also really needs to make Hillary look bad. He needs Hillary to walk into a trap or stumble on her own, or somehow he leads her to that stumble so that her numbers dip a little bit, which makes the race that much more competitive. He might be able to do the first part of it, but getting her to fall into one of his traps, that might be a tougher ask.
And just to amplify what Andrew's saying, you know, where Chris Christie will fight with people in the audience, and after a while that wore thin, The second thing is, if somebody asks you a heartfelt question and you choose to ignore the question that a regular American's asking you just to go after Bill Clinton's picadillos or whatever else, that's going to be doubly bad. Beyond the obvious, now you're ignoring a regular American. The public doesn't usually go for that. So it'll be fascinating. And of course, we'll have both, as Andrew said, the pregame half an hour before we go on the air, and then the full debate in its entirety, and then the reaction after. And we'll also be soliciting some of your thoughts during the debate as to who you think did better, which moments really stood out. Andrew, thank you very much. All right, I mentioned Chris Christie. When we come back on the other side of the break, we'll bring the attorneys in, and they're going to dig into the Bridgegate scandal and also the latest allegations against not just Governor Christie we've heard from witnesses, but now pointing at the guy across the river, Governor Cuomo.